Most people think the wealth gap is simply about rich people having more money than poor people. Bigger houses, better cars, luxury vacations, expensive watches, designer clothes. That's the version everyone sees online. But honestly, the real wealth gap is much deeper than that. It's invisible most of the time, which is why almost nobody talks about it seriously. Because the biggest difference between people who build wealth and people who stay broke forever usually has very little to do with intelligence, talent, or even how hard they work. It comes down to mindset, environment, financial habits, and long-term behavior repeated consistently for years. And once I understood that, I started seeing money completely differently. Growing up, most of us were taught the same basic formula. Study hard, get a stable job. Work consistently, pay your bills, and eventually life will become financially secure. But millions of people follow that exact formula for decades and still remain financially stressed. They work hard every single day, yet somehow always feel stuck. Why? Because hard work alone is no longer enough. That's the uncomfortable truth most people avoid discussing. I know people who wake up early, work long shifts, sacrifice their energy constantly, and still struggle financially every month. Meanwhile, there are people who seem to build wealth much faster without looking nearly as exhausted. At first glance, it feels unfair, but when you look deeper, you realize something important. Wealth is not just built through income. It's built through decisions. Small decisions repeated consistently over long periods of time. And most people completely underestimate how much their daily habits quietly shape their financial future. One of the biggest wealth gaps nobody talks about is the gap between consumers and owners. Most people spend their entire lives consuming, buying products, financing lifestyles, paying subscriptions, upgrading phones, upgrading cars, upgrading clothes, and constantly spending money to maintain appearances. Every month, their income flows directly into businesses owned by someone else. Meanwhile, wealthy people focus heavily on ownership. Ownership of businesses. Ownership of investments. Ownership of assets that continue generating income long after the original work is done. That difference changes everything. Consumers work for money and spend it. Owners build systems that eventually make money work for them. And honestly, modern society pushes people toward consumption constantly. Everywhere you look, there's pressure to spend. Advertisements convince you happiness is always one purchase away. Social media constantly shows luxury lifestyles that make ordinary people feel behind in life. Companies spend billions studying human psychology to make spending feel emotional and automatic. The result is that many people become trapped in endless cycles of consumption without even realizing it. The moment someone starts earning more money, they immediately increase their lifestyle too. Better clothes, better restaurants, more subscriptions, more expensive habits, more monthly payments. That's lifestyle inflation. And honestly, it quietly destroys more financial futures than most people realize. I experienced this personally for years. Every time I made more money, I felt temporary excitement. I upgraded small parts of my lifestyle because I thought that was the reward for working hard. And for a few days, it felt good. But eventually those upgrades became normal, and the stress returned again. That's the dangerous thing about emotional spending. The satisfaction fades quickly, but the financial consequences often remain much longer. What shocked me most was realizing how much of modern spending is connected to emotion rather than actual need. People spend money when they feel stressed. People spend money when they feel insecure. People spend money when they feel bored, lonely, or unmotivated. Buying things creates temporary dopamine, which is why shopping feels emotionally rewarding in the moment. But temporary excitement rarely creates long-term financial peace. And the system quietly depends on people staying trapped in that cycle. Because financially disciplined people are much harder to profit from. Think about it. A person who avoids unnecessary debt, invests consistently, controls emotional spending, and focuses on ownership instead of appearances becomes far less dependent on endless consumption. That person slowly gains freedom. And freedom changes everything. Another wealth gap nobody talks about is delayed gratification. Most people today struggle with patience financially because modern life trains the brain to expect instant rewards. Instant entertainment, instant food delivery, instant shopping, instant validation online. Everything happens immediately now. So when people enter the financial world expecting fast results, they become frustrated quickly. Investing feels too slow. Building skills feels too slow. Starting businesses feels too slow. Saving money feels boring. And because long-term wealth usually grows quietly in the beginning, many people give up before momentum ever appears. That's why so many people chase shortcuts instead. Get-rich-quick schemes, risky trends, overnight success fantasies, trying to look successful before actually becoming financially secure. Social media makes this even worse because people constantly compare themselves to unrealistic lifestyles online. Someone with a normal life suddenly feels unsuccessful because they're comparing themselves to influencers showing luxury every day. Comparison destroys financial discipline. Once someone becomes obsessed with appearances, smart financial decisions start feeling emotionally painful. Living below your means feels embarrassing. Driving a regular car feels like failure. Saving money feels boring. Investing feels invisible. So people sacrifice long-term freedom for short-term image. And honestly, that trade quietly destroys millions of lives. Another massive wealth gap is financial education. Many wealthy families teach financial thinking early: investing, ownership, risk management, business mindset. Someone with a normal life suddenly feels unsuccessful because they're comparing themselves to influencers showing luxury every day. Environment matters far more than people realize. If everyone around you spends emotionally, emotional spending feels normal. If nobody around you invests, investing feels dangerous. If your environment values appearances more than ownership, you naturally begin chasing status too. That's why changing your financial life often requires changing your mindset before changing your income. Because someone with poor habits can easily destroy higher income too.